All right, Deshaun Watson is coming back to town, and my question, and I've posed this to people on Twitter, I posed this to people in the Loopholes Facebook page, which is a private page. If you listen to the show, you can come through. No politics, none of that crap that you see on the internet. Just a Houston fan community of people that listen to Sports Radio 610 that like to interact, go back and forth. Sometimes it gets heated, but it's fun. But I posed the question, like, how will you remember the Deshaun Watson era? It's kind of a hard question to answer, and I don't think that there's really a right answer, because obviously sports are an emotional thing, and it was an emotional roller coaster with Deshaun Watson. To start it off, I think we just got to go back to draft day when Deshaun Watson was first drafted. I think this was an example of maybe some of the best GM work that we've seen in this city. And the way in which Rick Smith got creative to bring Deshaun Watson to town, I think he deserved a lot of credit for. After swinging and missing on Brock Osweiler, rather than just writing it out, the Texans got creative, and they traded the second-round pick to Cleveland to basically have them take on Brock Osweiler. And along developing that relationship, they were able to trade up and get Deshaun Watson in the draft. And I know I was excited when it happened. I don't know too many people who weren't. And I think it was one of the most impressive, exciting times, and I think it was very impressive what Rick Smith did and what should have been. So just the overall feeling of draft day for me, it's something I'll never forget. Covering the draft for Sports Radio 610 when the trade was announced, and when you knew that it was going to be Deshaun Watson that was going to be the selection. I don't want to speak for all of you. You can put the comments in as well, and we'll go through what people said on Twitter and what people said on the Loopholes Facebook page, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Keep spreading it. But draft day was just, it was a really, really special time. And we thought we were getting potentially a franchise quarterback. I thought it was just some really, really good maneuvering by Rick Smith. After that, as we continue to go through, and I'll get to the comments. Do you think there are any chances Cal cleans house, including Casario? We'll get into that. I promise. I promise we will read all the comments. I went hard on Casario today, and really have the last couple of days. It's been kind of exhausting. It's been kind of hard for me as Casario's biggest supporter, just how pitiful Wednesday was and some of the stuff he said. If you missed the post-game show yesterday, it was pretty fiery. You can go back and check that out. I had Stutz and Meltz on. And by the way, Stutz just started a YouTube channel. So go ahead and subscribe to Cody Stutz's YouTube channel. I think he's one of the best voices and has one of the best pulses in the city. If I were putting together a roundtable, Stutz would definitely be on that, along with Meltz and who knows who else. I don't want to get in like a power ranking thing to where I'll leave some people out, but y'all know who my guys are. The preseason was crazy when Watson was here. As we continue to remember Deshaun Watson, you can put your memories of Deshaun Watson in the comments. The preseason was wild. I remember it seemed like a lot of people, and I actually got in some heated arguments. I know Seth and I got in a big argument about it on air, and it was entertaining. It seemed like a lot of people were okay with Tom Savage starting over Deshaun Watson, which, when you look back at it, it was actually pretty silly. And it didn't last too long, but that seemed to be the conclusion. And it was always, well, he knows the system, and, you know, you can let Deshaun Watson, he might not be ready immediately, and the offensive line stinks, so you don't want to put Deshaun behind that. But the preseason, anyone who watched Deshaun, like in practice, it was clear that he was better than Savage. But for whatever reason, Savage started. And I just remember going to that first game 2017. And this was when Jacksonville went to the AFC title game. Man, it was obvious that a change needed to be made. And as we were sitting in the press box, I remember talking to some people about, man, this is going to be a disaster. This is terrible. The second half starts and out runs Deshaun Watson. And I think that started, I know we have a lot of season ticket holders in here, a lot of people that watch. I think that started the most exciting stretch of football in this town that I can remember in a long, long time. I mean, I think excluding like the Kubiak era, I think that was that 2 months, whatever it was, where Deshaun started off his rookie year. I think that was the most exciting. That was the most excited that I've seen this city for football in a long, long time. You had the near wins in New England. You had the near win in Seattle. The Titans game where they just completely smacked around the Tennessee Titans. I remember the Dylan Cole interception to cap it off. I think that got them to $500,000. That was the loudest that I've seen that stadium and heard that stadium. Really going back to the Buffalo playoff win with Deshaun was loud, but the second loudest, and I think just as loud, just overall excitement, like no pessimism, everybody pumped, everybody excited. I would put the Tennessee game at NRG, Deshaun's rookie year. I'd actually put it up there with Buffalo, because I think by the time they beat Buffalo, when Deshaun Watson really that was just a miraculous performance. He overcame Bill O'Brien. There was kind of some apathy. There was kind of like some Bill O'Brien fatigue. I think it was kind of starting, and it was an appreciated win. It was fun. I'm not saying that the atmosphere wasn't, but as far as just hope, everybody being so happy, you walking out of the concourse, you walk in the locker room, there was just a certain buzz, there was just a certain glow there, and that was before he tore his ACL, which was a really, really rough break. It happened after the Astros World Series, but you felt like you knew you had your guy. You knew you had your guy, and that was just, to me, like the high point. Like if you asked me what was the best moment of the Watson era, I would say probably that Tennessee game where they just completely thumped Tennessee, and that stretch of ball that we saw for Deshaun. Because I think the other thing about that was Bill O'Brien really didn't have as much time to kind of micromanage Deshaun. So it seemed like, and I know that, that there's been some like kind of defensiveness with BOB or anyone when you bring this up, but it did just kind of seem like the offense, for whatever reason, that was like the best that the O'Brien offense ever looked early on in that Watson thing. It was just absolute magic. And I very much enjoyed it. We'll get to some of the comments here, and then we'll continue with the return. Cap and Trade says, what up? So after QB, are we going wide receiver, defense? Man, there are so many choices. I don't think there's like a path. I know this is supposed to be about Watson, but do you think there's any chance Cal cleans house, including Caserio? I don't, but I hope there's like an evaluation of Caserio, because I think he could be Lovey-like, where he's the right guy to get you out of a certain situation. And I'm grateful for what he's done. But some of the stuff that he has said and some of the stuff that's gone on, I just wonder, like, how much are you really changing your sins of the past? For a couple of years, we had a top 10 QB. That's facts. I'm so done with this pathetic franchise coach, pathetic everything about this organization. It's a joke. Every single Sunday, this team is a joke. It's laughable at this point. I feel your pain, man. I 100% feel your pain, and I completely understand the frustration. Still will be a very exciting offseason, but I can't knock anyone for feeling that way. How I miss Rick Smith hitting in the first round. Man, he was really good at that, wasn't he? Goodness gracious, he was good. Be careful, Landry. Don't get yourself whacked. We like you around here. Don't know what that means. It's dumb how good he was as a rookie. Dude, he was so good. Like, man, that was so awesome his rookie year. I'm with you, Bruce. Could it be possible for Caserio to accomplish what Smith did and find a franchise QB? It's going to be easier. Assuming that you believe in one of these guys that could be number one in the draft, it could actually be easier. Remember the bus ride to Jacksonville? We're going to get to that, man. We're going to get to that for sure. That was awesome. We should go running back after quarterback. I mean, Bijan Robinson, best. This is a duo RB league. I agree. especially if Cleveland wins some games and you're in like the 20s and you can get Bijan Robinson. I concur. I would not be opposed to that. So the return of Deshaun Watson in 2018, as we remember the Deshaun Watson thing, this one was interesting because I was really high on the Texans that year. And this was where you had Brian Gaine coming in. You felt good about having the quarterback. There was a little bit of skepticism about Bill O'Brien, but there was some intrigue, and that might have been the most fluky season that I can remember. Like, they could have easily had a losing record, but they just kept finding ways to win. And I think you've got to credit Deshaun for doing that. You just mentioned Jacksonville taking the bus to the Jags game. There was between 2018 and 2019, there was a couple of good primetime games. We had, and I'm lumping 2018 in this. I'm putting 2018 and 2019 into the same thing. So the return / 2019, I'm lumping those in. There were some good primetime games, man. Like, that was the Texans the last few years. The primetime games have just been whack. It's been, everyone has to have a primetime game, so you throw them on Thursday. But I mean, the Sunday night game against the Patriots, where he flipped it to Hop, the Cowboys game, where you had the Hop spin moves. There were just some really good primetime memories with Deshaun Watson at that time. And 2018 was a good year, but you could tell that they weren't that good. And Bill O'Brien got real defensive about it, but I think people ended up kind of looking right at it, especially with the way that Indianapolis just came in here and smacked around the Texans in the playoff game. Just a complete assing at NRG. And I can remember after that, and this is where they might have gotten a little bit lucky. After that, you just felt like Indianapolis was the team that was going to be the contender for a while, because Andrew was back. They were building a good roster top to bottom. But then Andrew retires, and the Texans are the unquestioned, we think, team to beat in the division. And 2019, they win that division, and we go to 24-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs. And that was where, after bailing them out against Buffalo, let's be honest, like, you can blame the defense, you can blame a lot, but the offense wasn't good. And the offense really, outside of the Kenny Stills touchdown on the first drive, the offense was actually pretty bad. I mean, it really wasn't that good. You had the fumble inside the 10 by is it Hardeman? I think it was Hardeman or Tyreek. It might have been Tyreek. The fumble by Tyreek, which led to a short field touchdown. Then you had the punt block, Lonnie Johnson touchdown. And really, the offense didn't even really – they were bad. And Deshaun wasn't good. And I'll never forget, after the game, Deshaun Watson goes to the podium. Deshaun Watson pounds the table for Bill O'Brien, says, "I love that man. I'll play for that man. You guys can say what you want, but that's my guy." And that was where I was kind of like, man, so much for, maybe getting a new coach for Deshaun Watson, maybe someone who can maximize him. It's going to be Deshaun and B.O.B., but you did feel after 2019, despite everything, and I think we said this many times, and I think they were saying this on broadcast, you did feel like Kansas City and the Houston Texans, they're going to go toe-to-toe for a long time. It's going to be Mahomes versus Watson. This is going to be one of many. And you felt okay, although you could sense that the organization with Jack Easterby and with Bill O'Brien, they were heading in a bad direction. My thing with the Tunsil trade and some of the trades they were making is you don't make win-now trades when you don't have a win-now coach. And we suffered the consequences of that. I had O'Brien and I've even heard Easterby brag about 2019, which is weird because I don't know what exactly he had to do with the overall foundation of it. But he said something smug like, I don't think anyone had a problem with us when we were in 2019. Yeah, they did, dude. They did, sir. But you did feel like, with Deshaun Watson, you always had a chance. That was the one thing. Like you felt like you had a chance with Deshaun Watson. Jake Asman asked, should Albert Breer be held accountable for being a Nick Caserio truther? He should be held accountable for being a VOB truther. The fact that Caserio came from New England, I knew he was a bust. Brady made a lot of people look good, including Belichick, in the Patriot connection. I don't think you're wrong there. Is ROL that bad, or is it just QB play? I think it's probably a mix of everything. Texans Cowboys game was prime. Yes, it was. You sure you aren't being a little biased and hating on Caserio because he was kind of talking down on the media? Heard you act similar when people lump the media into that kind of bad category. Why would I care if he's talking bad about the media? I didn't like that Nick Caserio is saying that who's good at their job. Like, what's that based on with him? And it's the exact same wording that Easterby used. I couldn't care less if Nick Caserio talks about the media. I don't like generalizations. I don't like smug crap. And I don't like when Nick Caserio uses the same wording that I've seen Jack Easterby use behind the scenes. So no, I don't give a damn if he talks about the media or not. It really doesn't impact me. I've been Caserio's biggest supporter. I didn't like that. And I didn't like the generalizations and the way in which really the whole Wednesday bleep show where you're trying to keep the quarterback a secret and it leaks out. So no, I couldn't give a rat's ass about if he talks about the media. The one-eyed TD pass against the Raiders, the kick to the head, that was nice. Nothing was the same after the Kansas City thing. I can agree with that. How much is D4 responsible for bringing the Texans morale to its lowest ever, or is that all the Texans front office and owner? That's a great transition. I actually appreciate that comment. Let's talk about the fallout. And I think this is important. And I've been critical of Deshaun. My most critical time of Deshaun was actually like in 2020 when it just kind of felt like he was kind of acting different after the contract. He put the post about eliminating 9-to-5ers, which I've mentioned probably 25,000 times. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And there were a lot of people who thought I was being irrational, which is possible. I'm a pretty emotional guy sometimes, but that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I've criticized Deshaun Watson. I think we covered the trial as fair as any other people in town. Honestly, like we gave you all the facts. We didn't make too many assumptions. We gathered information, we talked, and we laid it out. And I've always maintained, and I think this is important. Deshaun Watson wanted out of here before any of that stuff even came out. And I don't think any of it's like, there's not like some people have like some conspiracy theories. There's no conspiracy theory for me. The organization was functioning in a very dangerous, toxic, pitiful, incompetent way. And Deshaun Watson did not want to be here. And I don't blame him for that. Like, I don't blame Deshaun Watson. Like, I understand, some people say he signed a contract, but when you have Jack Easterby lurking around with the organization, you're trading DeAndre Hopkins for peanuts. I wouldn't have wanted to be here either if I were Deshaun Watson. And I think I think even after all the stuff came out, the Texans were willing to stand by Deshaun Watson. And had Deshaun Watson wanted to play here, I think he would maybe still be a member of the Houston Texans. I think Nick Caserio would be trying to build a team around Deshaun Watson. So I'm not, we can get to the off the field stuff and we will, but him wanting to leave town and him wanting out of here, we can nickel and dime some of the stuff that went on that maybe we weren't too fond of, but I don't blame him. I don't blame him. And I think it was the right call for him. Now, after that, that's where it got a little bit weird, to say the very least. the Deshaun stuff. Who were we playing that one time he started air guitaring after first down when we were down 30? Wasn't that was that in 2020? Maybe, I don't know. I thought the air guitar was against the Patriots actually. But I'm not sure. That's what I thought. That's when I thought it was, but who knows? The off-field stuff, look, it was one of the weirdest times of covering this squad and weirdest things going on with Deshaun Watson. Look, I don't know what Deshaun did. I don't know, all the facts. I think we sometimes make a mistake of like generalizing the cases. Like if one case looks a certain way, then it must be all of them. And if we talk about numbers and stuff like that, I just don't really like. I don't know like what exactly he did and didn't do. I just know it was weird. And I mean, I agree with Arian Foster when he says it was pretty predatory and it's strange. I actually like if I were connecting it, I don't think all of these situations are the same. Okay. So I don't think like woman number 1 is the same as woman 22. But I do think there was, and this goes back to like the 9 to 5 comment. I think there was a sense of a lack of respect for 9 to 5ers, whether it's massage therapists or whatever. And it does seem like maybe some of these there was some stuff laid out to where maybe it was known what was going to go down. But I do think there were also some professional massage therapists that were made to feel uncomfortable. I just do. I don't, I could be wrong. We've seen some of the comments that, some of the investigators have made. I think Sue Robinson said it was predatory. And, we've seen some of this stuff. But from a Cleveland Browns perspective, with everything we know, I don't necessarily blame them for making the move. Cleveland needed to go get a quarterback and they made the move. And I also think like, as much as I've been critical of Caserio lately for some of the stuff, I think Caserio did a really good job in the way in which he negotiated the trade and the way that he made the trade and executed the trade and made it happen, given that there was a no trade clause. I thought it was actually, I don't want to call it revolutionary, but I thought it was about as well done as something in that situation could possibly be. I thought he handled it professionally. I thought he did a lot of damage control, and I thought he did an excellent job of executing the trade. So those are really like the overall memories of the Deshaun Watson situation. And at the end of the day, we're left keeping our eyes on our own paper at this point. And Cleveland's hoping that maybe they can go on a run with Deshaun Watson. Cleveland's hoping that, maybe, next year they're going to be a contender or whatever. And here in Houston, we're still looking for someone like Deshaun Watson. Could that be Bryce Young? I don't know. Maybe. But until you find that quarterback, there's always going to be, whether you're sad that Deshaun's gone, whether you're pissed off that Deshaun's gone, whether you're convincing yourself that you're happy that Deshaun Watson's gone, there's always going to be a lot of emotions and really not necessarily good emotions that, do anything to improve the current on-field situation. There's always going to be those emotions whenever we talk about Deshaun until they find that guy. But it was a hell of a ride. It was interesting. We thought we finally had a quarterback, and we did not. Is someone really suggesting Lane Kiffin for the NFL? What are we doing? Someone says, serious question. Will any top head coaching candidate want to be with the Texans organization? Will Nick Caserio let the potential head coach have a say in who the next QB will be? Seems like the only way someone would take the job. I think that's interesting. And I do wonder, I think asset wise, it's a very appealing job. I think it's very appealing. You've gotten through the hard part of the rebuild. Now's where you just got to fill holes. You're going to have cap space and stuff. Asset wise, it's appealing. I don't know who does and doesn't want to work with Nick Caserio. I don't want who Nick Caserio wants to hire. And I don't know if Nick Caserio would pick the quarterback and then the GM, or that would be some sort of discussion they'd have. That'll be interesting. That'll be one of the most intriguing things from the offseason. I ain't even talking about this Lane Kiffin thing. Remember when he cried because he got his extension? I do. Very emotional time for him, man. Here are the comments from and at Landry Locker on Twitter. How will you remember the Deshaun Watson era? You know there's going to be some jokes here. On the field, fondly. Off the field, why was the towel so small? Slimy. Picture of skunks. Picture of massage. Underachieving. I would disagree with that significantly. Now, if you're looking at the entire body of work, yes, but I don't think Deshaun Watson underachieved. I actually thought he saved a lot of butts, if we're going to be honest. I had a twinkle in my eye every Sunday watching the offense work. Now I fall asleep watching them play. I can understand that. Overshadowed by the rise and fall of King Bill. I can get that. Some fun plays and a lot of underachieving. It was a mirage. Always had the illusion in paradise, but losing badly to Drew Lock-led Broncos, so on and so forth. You can check out the comments at Landry Locker. There's obviously a lot of jokes, but there's also a lot of love, man. Like that's the thing. There was a lot of love between Deshaun Watson and Houston. Now, did it change? Did it change after everything went down? Maybe, but there was a hell of a lot of love between Deshaun. Now, it is weird that he never sent out like some sort of letter or something like that when he left. I was a little bit surprised by that. No shout out or nothing like that, but there was a lot of love. And there were a lot of good times. There were a lot of bad times. There were a lot of weird times. There were a lot of sad times. There were a lot of happy times. But it's all going to come full circle on Sunday, which I think is going to be a fun day. I think I think that this is the game where Texans fans, no matter how you feel, no matter what you think about this season, I feel like this is going to be the game that the people want the most. And I know it sounds pitiful. It's like a college team that wins just one game, but this is like a one-game season. And I think for Texans fans who a lot of them aren't showing up, a lot are kind of getting a little bit apathetic. A lot are frustrated. Some are hopeful. This is going to be the one day where if you win just on this Sunday, you're going to feel good and you're going to get to see the guy who you used to watch. Now, if you're anticipating the worst, it could get ugly. The line is 7 and Deshaun Watson hasn't played football in 2 years. So I think there's potential to where, maybe there could be a surprise. Maybe there's going to be a buzz. I'm intrigued to see what the atmosphere in the stadium is going to be like. And by the way, we're giving away front row seats tomorrow on the show. Fire up the Odyssey app. In the loop, we're giving away front row seats. I've been giving tickets to people who don't want tickets. Have been giving me their tickets, and then I get them to people who would like to go, because there's a lot of people that don't want to go, and it's been really fun. Hundreds of people have gotten to go watch the game that maybe wouldn't usually be able to. So we'll probably keep that going. But tomorrow we're giving away them front row seats. Those are those Debbie the Texan seats right there. You see her always getting on the TV. So you could check that out. I think it's a fun time. I know there's some apathy for it. I think it's fun. It's everything coming full circle. It's drama. It's hope. It's a low bar where really you win that one game and you feel good about it. I think it's actually gonna be a fun time, and I'm happy to be covering it. And I'm happy to be covering this squad. And no matter how bad it gets, I want to say it could be worse, but I don't know. The way Nick Caserio acted Wednesday has me wondering if we've seen even the worst yet. I'll get over it, I promise. Subscribe to the channel. We'll keep this going throughout the week. Appreciate everyone for the comments. Appreciate everyone for coming through. And remember, no matter how frustrating it gets, we are in this together. Have a good night.